At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Mike Krueger. Thank you so much for joining us here. It is, what is today? Wednesday, June 17th. And boy, we got some heat that we still have in store for us here for today. But the good news is we are going to start to see those temperatures begin to drop here as we go into the next several days, and especially for your Friday and Saturday. Looking at our Divine Sky Cam here, live shot overlooking the Sacramento River. And if you look closely through that haze, you got Mount Shasta off in the distance. But this is a camera that we've got here at the Lake Shasta Golf Resort. You don't have to look too far because the mountain is right there in your face at the golf resort, sponsored by Elwood Ranch. Beautiful shot there. We've got the clear skies this morning out there in Siskiyou County, and not so clear skies for the coast of Delnor County, especially out towards Crescent City Harbor District, where you have some fog this morning. But there are a few spots that aren't quite as foggy along the coast, so some of that patchy fog. Interesting photo here. This was actually sent to us by Steve Cook. This is a farmer planting yellow beans in Durham. Now, what makes this interesting is that they typically don't plant the beans during a heat wave, but when they know that temperatures are expected to drop, then they can go ahead and plant them. So they've obviously been watching Weather NorCal because they know those temperatures are going to drop. And just looks like, I love that. I love when they get out there, the dogs. I mean, just imagine how happy those dogs are when it comes to just kind of being able to be out and about all of the time. By the way, Steve used the free Weather NorCal app to, let me make sure I have the right, give me a second here. There you go. Forgive me. I'm getting that. By the way, yeah, as I mentioned, Steve Cook used the free Weather NorCal app to send his photo, just like the one you just saw. And you can do the same. As long as you have the free Weather NorCal app, you can send those photos. And if you send those photos, you just might see it right here on Coffee with Krueger and the morning update. So your Krueger's Quickcast for your Wednesday, June 17th. It's a mild start. Now, Redding, 74, but you head south of that generally in the mid to upper 60s. 40s and 50s for the higher elevations, and looks like around 50, low 50s for the coast. Now, you'll notice we saw that fog for Crescent City. That's where we have the lowest visibility, but you'll notice kind of up and down the coast, we've just got some of that patchy fog that we have out there this morning. Of course, no fog really pretty much elsewhere. There you can see your skeeter meter. Of course, sponsored by Shasta Mosquito and Vector Control. You can call the number on your screen, by the way, if you have any comments or concerns or questions about mosquitoes in your area. It's called 530-365-3768. Of course, there's some of the grid advice that they have. Some of the advice, that is, to help keep your yard from becoming a breeding grounds for those skeeters. All right, let's take a look at your forecast this morning. Another mild start, no big surprises. Really more of the same for today. We do have some of that fog along the coast. Otherwise, I do expect to see some clearing here. And you can see the satellite image. You notice a bit of a batch of cloud cover off to the west. That may actually come into our area later on today and tomorrow, but should remain dry. But the high pressure that's been giving us the heat, that's breaking down. And we're going to see our temperatures begin to drop too. So today, much like yesterday, about 100 degrees for the north end of the valley, mid-90s, you head to the south. Even some triple digits for places like Weaverville. So again, the question is, why is it 100 in Weaverville in the mountains, but only 96 in Chico and 95 in Willows? Because Willows and Chico feels the impacts of the Delta breeze, that cool marine air moving through the Delta up the valley, and temperatures drop as a result. Redding not as cool because, well, by the time that cooler air comes in from the coast, it moderates big time by the time it gets up to Redding and has minimal impacts as far as the temperatures are concerned for the north end of the valley. Now for tonight, another mild night, right? Upper 60s, low 70s for the valley, and pretty much more of the same here for the mountains and the coast. So your 7-day outlook, yes, we're still looking at that big drop in the temperatures by Friday, Saturday, around 90, give or take, for Friday, Saturday, but then warming back up for Sunday into early next week. Now, notice the chance for thunderstorms there in the forecast as we look at the 7-day forecast in parts of the mountains. Not everyone, and it'll be Thursday, Friday, especially to the north and east of the valley. We're going to get into all of that and what our potential looks like. That looks ominous, right? But it's, again, not as bad as it looks, which, again, we'll get into that a little bit later. So the fire weather risk not only deals with the wind and the low humidity and the heat, but also that potential for thunderstorms. So let's start with the winds. And today, nothing alarming, just a little breezy in some spots, nothing pretty much normal, right? And then by Thursday, a south wind. Now, a south wind can still dry things out, and it can still be drier, and it can still be hot. So if it's windy, even with the south wind, and it's hot, and we're still looking at humidity levels in the mid-teens, that's going to really elevate that fire weather risk. However, if it were a north wind, that would really suck out any moisture we have. It would probably be drier, and we'd probably see much more elevated fire weather risk. But there is going to be an elevated fire weather risk for the valley on Thursday. On Friday, not as elevated because temperatures will be much cooler. And by the way, the winds you see in the eastern mountains, those are going to be thunderstorm induced. And then the winds should be calmer, or at least not as strong for your Saturday. So here's your fire weather risk. I mean, we're barely in the oranges there, right? So you're talking just kind of the low to moderate for the valley. Still dry and still very hot. So it's still slightly elevated fire weather risk, right? Thursday, you see how we're seeing those oranges expand? That's getting in that moderate fire weather risk. And humidity levels still in the low to mid-teens, all right? But not as bad for the eastern mountains. But look at Friday. Remember, we're still seeing some strong winds on Friday, but the fire weather risk is going to be lower because it's not going to be as hot. And then going into your Saturday, fire weather risk even lower. Why? Calmer winds, still looking at upper 80s, low 90s, and humidity still low, but when you have cooler temperatures, weaker winds, that really does help with that fire weather risk. Speaking of fire weather risk, there's a fire weather watch, mainly for eastern Lassen and eastern Modoc County. Mainly due to the fact that we could see some thunderstorms in that region, and strong outflow from those thunderstorms could fuel and fan any sparks that we see from those lightning strikes. Now keep in mind, these are not the only areas that will see thunderstorms. I do think we could see it as far west as Bernie eventually, and even Siskiyou County, which we'll get into that a little bit later. So the areas in brown is where we've got that potential for Thursday and Friday. But notice on Friday, you're seeing a lot of red on the map just outside of California. That is the potential, and I think that's where the strongest activity will be. Will be in southeast Oregon and in western Nevada, and some of those kind of filtering into parts of northern California. That's the potential, the biggest potential for dry lightning strikes with those thunderstorms as we go into your Friday. But Saturday should be looking at better conditions. So we take a look at the cameras again around the region, looking at our Divine Sky Cam. And this is in Redding, beautiful shot there, the Sacramento River. Again, you'll notice a bit of that haze. What happens is the air during some of these heat waves can get very stagnant. So any pollutants we have in the air can kind of get trapped. And as a result, we see a little bit of that haze out there. That's why the visibility tends to drop in some of those landmarks, kind of the long distance. Like, for example, Mount Shasta, having a hard time seeing it on the camera. But we're much closer to the mountain here, so you can't see those pollutants. But beautiful shot from Lake Shasta Golf Resort, sponsored by Elwood Ranch. Beautiful shot there of Mount Shasta. And of course, we've got plenty of sunshine. Taking a look at Soda Ridge, different perspective of Mount Shasta. Once again, looking at those sunny skies out there this morning, a couple of high clouds. Taking a look at Lassen Park, a couple of passing high clouds, otherwise sunny skies there. This is looking at Lake Orville. Once again, you can kind of see a bit of that haze, those pollutants getting trapped in that stagnant air that we have over the region. Main Street Chico on Highway 32, not a car to be seen. Is the road closed? No, it's not closed. Just happens that there's no traffic out there at the current hour. There you can see Highway 99 at Neal Road. Kind of backed up at that traffic light there. Crescent City Harbor District, yes, you got the fog out there this morning, but much like yesterday, that will clear out as we go into the afternoon hours. But we're not seeing fog everywhere. We do have some of the clearing skies there. Bald Hill West, looking at mainly clear skies. Oh, a couple of people checking in this morning. We've got Lisa Stevens saying, halfway through the work week, we've got this. Have a great day. And Shelly saying, good morning, Mike. Stay cool. Well, I mean, I'm cool anyways, right? But no, just kidding. Yeah, we all got to stay cool out there. It's hot pretty much anywhere you go, right? Taking a look at, there's again Bald Hill West, looking down at Hoopa Valley. Clear skies. Fort Jones in Scott Valley. Looks like we got the clear skies there. Once again, we take a look at Someone, a farmer, planting yellow beans in Durham. And this is a picture courtesy of Steve Cook. I want to thank him for sharing his photo from the free Weather NorCal app. You can share your photos as well. You just might see it right here on Coffee with Krueger. Well, Coffee with Krueger is made possible by Wind River Resort and Casino. At Wind River Resort and Casino, enjoy friendly service, a wide variety of specials and promotions, plus all of your favorite slots and table games. And it is coming up, folks. We have got... Look at that. More information. Let's take a look at it. The 12th Annual Bacon and Brew Fest. That's coming up this Friday. So what, in 2 days? 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. They're going to have all kinds of great things paired with wonderful drinks as well. You can go to windriver.com entertainment and you can buy your tickets in advance. So be sure to check that out. Once again, I want to thank Wind River Resort and Casino for their sponsorship and for their support of Weather NorCal. Coffee with Krueger, taking a look at those headlines. One more triple-digit day for some of the mountains, north end of the valley, before many of us drop below 100 degrees by tomorrow. Significantly cooler by Friday, Saturday, and we're talking about a 10, 12-degree drop. Mountain showers and thunderstorms Thursday and Friday, with dry lightning and gusty winds being the two of the biggest concerns with that. So let's go to that deeper dive forecast, and currently we are looking at those temperatures pretty mild in Redding. Oh, somehow my monitor turned off here for some reason. But pretty mild, what we're looking at right now in Redding at about 74 degrees. Red Bluff at about 69, 68 degrees out in Corning, 65 for Oroville. And we've got those low 50s out along the coast right now. Pretty cool, not bad. Out in Elmhurst at about 48. Now we are seeing that visibility a little bit lower out towards Crescent City. Harbor District, you saw that camera there. You certainly were socked in with that fog, but we are seeing some clearing skies kind of up and down the coast. So some of that patchy fog, some areas worse than others. And then of course you got the clear skies pretty much everywhere else. Now, the satellite image shows a little bit of patch of clouds off to our west. Those may impact us over the next 24 hours or so. But the main ridge of high pressure is beginning to flatten out as we speak. Thanks to this area of low pressure here, there's another one that'll be riding over that ridge, and that will keep that high pressure from building in any stronger once it does weaken. So you can see as we go into your Thursday, right, that cooler air rises to the north, that warmer air is now weakening, and we're seeing temperatures drop as a result. The coolest temperatures will be Friday, Saturday. And then going into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we got some pretty big time heat over the desert Southwest that's going to try to expand into our region. But we still have a flat ridge, so we're still going to get pretty warm. We're talking upper 90s to even around 100 degrees here for Sunday through pretty much all of next week. But these storm systems, they're all going to keep riding over that ridge and preventing that ridge from building any stronger. But that being said, even though temperatures are dropping, we're still going to be above normal in that long range, according to the Climate Prediction Center and according to my forecast too. There you can see that nice dip in the temperatures Friday, Saturday, looking very nice, looking very pleasant compared to what we've been dealing with. And then we're back up to kind of leveling out upper 90s, so about 100 degrees for Sunday through all of next week. Normal high, by the way, this time of the year is about 92. So we'll be well above that. All right, let's talk about those chances for thunderstorms. And we're going to go through this, and I'm also going to kind of give you my thoughts on what I think is going to happen, because there are some discrepancies in the models with this overall solution. So today, no thunderstorms in the forecast. We'll notice a few clouds coming in tonight, tomorrow. I don't think we're going to see any rain like you saw there in Futurecast. Don't think that's going to happen. But I'm in pretty good alignment with this. I think it's going to be few and far between for chances for thunderstorms, but we could see some thunderstorms pop up. Otherwise, scattered showers, right? But Siskiyou, Modoc, Lassen, Plumas. I think these are the areas that have the best potential for your Thursday. Dry for Trinity County, dry for Del Norte Humboldt, and dry for the Valley. But again, these areas, Siskiyou, Modoc, Lassen, Plumas. And of course, the south working its way into the Sierra too, right? So that's Thursday. Now Friday, look at this. Here's Friday. You'll notice this particular forecast model wants to keep it in Siskiyou, Modoc County, but nothing for Lassen or Plumas County, where you've got some pretty heavy activity here in southeast Oregon and into Nevada. That's why when we're looking at the fire weather outlook, you saw a lot of red here, basically indicating that there's a chance for those lightning strikes, also in southeast. So I do agree that we will see very heavy activity in these areas, but I also think that some of this is going to kind of spill over into eastern portions of Northern California. So again, out towards Lassen, Plumas. But I also think you can see here, it's getting uncomfortably close to at least northern Trinity County. So I would say around, say, Highway 299 northward, you've got the best chance for thunderstorms. So around Weaverville. But then you head south of that, most likely dry for places like Ruth and maybe even Hayfork having a harder time getting those thunderstorms too. And I'm including a slight chance for maybe a stray shower for parts of the inland areas, but most likely looking at fairly dry conditions for your Friday. Then on Saturday, it's picking up on a few showers. Otherwise, just some clouds, partly cloudy skies for Saturday, but we're kind of starting to stabilize the atmosphere at that point. Severe outlook, yeah, northern Sierra. I want to extend this northward and maybe even into parts of Siskiyou County as well. And then look at Friday, all right? Storm Prediction Center is really going all out on this one. Now, I think it's overdoing it, putting it in the valley and even parts of southern Trinity County. And I think it's also overdoing it, putting it into Del Norte and Humboldt counties. So I'd say, again, north of Highway 299 into Siskiyou, Modoc, Lassen, and Plumas on Friday, but also some of those mountains in eastern Shasta, eastern Tehama, and also eastern Butte County could potentially get caught up in some of those thunderstorms as well. So I think Friday is the bigger day of the two, but we still have that potential even on Thursday. Climate Prediction Center has got us drier than normal, so keep in mind, these chances for thunderstorms, it's not widespread heavy rainfall and gusty winds and tons of thunderstorms. No, we're just looking at few and far between some of that happening. But anytime we have the potential for lightning strikes, we've got to pay close attention, and in particular our firefighters, right? Because we start to see that potential for fires to start in a lot of these outlying areas where, you know, in the mountains in particular. All right, so we're still over 100% average for our historical average for the lake levels. We're still seeing about a quarter to half a foot of drop over the last 24 hours. That's been pretty status quo over the last week or so. Now, we're looking at the wave heights, and they are going to start to drop going into tomorrow. But as anticipated, they did get higher today. And as a result, there actually is a small craft advisory for today. It should be allowed to expire later this afternoon and evening. Winds are going to start off from the northwest at 10 to 15 feet, but I do expect them to drop later on this afternoon. All right, so here's your neighborhood forecast, sponsored by Dignity Health and Grange Co-op. We've got temperatures. I mean, we're talking still 90s, triple digits. So what I've got here for Friday is that potential for thunderstorms on Friday. But I would again say around Weaverville, Trinity Center, maybe Lewiston, maybe out towards Coffee Creek, right, Callahan, and then going into western Siskiyou County. But south of that, Douglas City, Hayfork, Ruth, Mad River, all having a hard time getting caught up in any of those thunderstorm chances. So again, Weaverville northward has that potential. Then we head out towards, say, the coast. I think mainly dry. Could we see a stray shower on Friday? Not out of the question. And then for the inland areas, I have included a chance on Friday. Don't count on much, if anything, though. But much cooler Friday, Saturday, and then we're warming back up for Sunday, Monday. So broad brush, Thursday, Friday for Siskiyou County. You can see that chance for thunderstorms Thursday, Friday. Few and far between. Doesn't mean everyone is going to see it, and it doesn't mean that you're going to see it both days. You may see it one day and then maybe not the next day, or vice versa. That's kind of how these isolated thunderstorms work. Same story for Modoc County, right? We're talking temperatures for today, low 90s, but that chance for thunderstorms Thursday and Friday. Same story for the eastern mountains too. I think better chances for places like Bernie, Viola, Mineral, maybe even Paradise Shingletown on Friday. Chances a bit slimmer on Thursday. And then we go into the weekend, we're starting to stabilize the atmosphere. No more thunderstorms at that point. Now the Valley neighborhood forecast, much like yesterday, we're seeing that south delta breeze that keeps things a bit cooler, below 100 degrees. 7-day forecast for Chico, keeping it that way. Upper 80s to about 90 for Friday, Saturday, and then mid 90s for your Father's Day, first day of summer solstice on Sunday. Still about 100 degrees, slightly higher for some areas like Redding 101, 99 for Red Bluff, 101 in Palisadro and Whiskeytown, about 96. And there's your 7-day forecast for Redding. It's cooling off a bit. I mean, really significantly. And if you're heading out to the Shasta District Fair, should be pretty nice for you. It should be much cooler. Still hot today, still hot tomorrow, but Friday, look at that. I mean, and that's really, it's as you go into Friday and the weekend, that's when more people tend to go. And you're talking around 90. that's bearable, right? We can handle that. And then upper 90s, so you still got to stay hydrated, and they've got plenty of things to drink there. A lot of good stuff. I love those, those lemonades that they have there. I don't know, wonder if they'll be there this year. Yes, had to sip some of my coffee. And then, yeah, we're back in the upper 90s by Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. First day of summer is on Sunday. Father's Day is on Sunday. So, of course, you know the works. You know how it works. Right, that's going to do it for us this morning, folks. Catherine Schmidt is checking in this morning. She's saying, good Wednesday. Yep, it's hot in the Castle area. And we've got Jackie Dixon saying good morning from Trinidad. Well, good morning to you, Jackie. So glad you all could join us. Thank you all so much for watching this morning. We have got more heat today and tomorrow before we see a nice big dip in those temperatures. Turning out to be a gorgeous start to the morning, at least when we're looking at the different views. And that's the goal of my camera network here. I want to make sure that we can get some unique views and some awesome views of Northern California. And we're doing that here from our Divine Sky Cam here. Absolutely wonderful. Well, I hope you all have a, well, you know what? Before we get into that, I believe we got the calendar up here. I think I do. Yeah, there it is. Let's do a refresh and see what today is. All right, so today's days is, today's the 17th, National Eat Your Vegetable Day, or Vegetables Day. Okay, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll go get a great salad today. National Root Beer Day. Who doesn't love root beer? Love it. Although that's got a lot of sugar in it. I probably will avoid that today. National Mascot Day. National Apple Strudel Day. And National Cherry Tart Day. So you can celebrate today by having some apple strudel with some cherry tart, and then wash it down with a root beer. And then after that, you can go healthy and eat your vegetables. So I would start with your vegetables, and then go with your then go with your apple strudel and cherry tart, and then wash it all down with the root beer, basically negating all the vegetables that you just ate. So there you go. You gotta love that. Gotta love that. Well, that's gonna do it for us this morning, folks. I hope you have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow morning right here on Coffee with Krueger for your Thursday. Yes, we're gonna be on the other side of the hump on this hump day. Have a great day. Stay cool out there and stay safe. Be sure to check on the elderly, your pets, make sure they're all safe during this heat.